Alright everyone, welcome to the second episode of Everything Joget DX. Today we'll be covering about monitoring and versioning. We have our speakers today, Mr. Hugo and Mr. Adrian. Say hello.
Hi everyone, this is Adrian.
Hi everyone, thanks for joining today's webinar. My name is Hugo. And Justin, you forgot to introduce yourself.
Oh, right. Today I'm the moderator. My name is Justin. Alright, so before we begin, we'll go through a few housekeeping items. So first of all, this webinar will be recorded. So if you miss any of today's event, if you miss any of today's materials, you can later access the recording on demand. And the second thing we want to talk about is we are taking questions from the audience. So anytime during the presentation, if you have any questions, go ahead to the control panel and you can use the Q&A button to submit your questions, and our panelists will get back to you close to the end of today's webinar. And lastly, the third point is, at the end of today's webinar, you'll be directed to a feedback form that we have. So we appreciate any feedback that you have for us to improve, or any suggestions that you may have, we will tune in. And without further ado, I will hand the session to Mr. Hugo and Mr. Adrian.
Hi everyone, so this is Adrian. I'll be the speaker for today's webinar. Okay, let's kick off with today's webinar, which is monitoring and versioning. Let's take a look at today's agenda. First, we'll do an intro on what this episode is all about. Then we'll do a demo in creating an approval process and a simple CRUD in Joget DX. We'll then talk about some of the new features in DX within the demo. Once the demo is over, we'll do a recap and we'll talk about what are the next upcoming topics with some additional resources to get your Joget DX up and running. And lastly, we can do a short Q&A session when we have time with the help of Hugo to answer your questions as well. Right, so this episode will be talking about two of the new features in DX, which is the DevOps and Tools integration and the application performance monitoring, which is APM for short. In the demo, I'll be building a new app in 5 minutes based on one of our previous Joget blog posts, which I'll ask Justin to leave a link should any of you would be interested in reading. In the app, we'll be using the app generator feature, which is already available in our previous versions, to build a CRUD and a simple approval process. Next, we'll show you the new DX features mentioned before, which is the APM, another feature called the weblog viewer, and the Git Integration feature. For those who don't know what CRUD is, some call it CRUD or CRUD, whichever you prefer. It's an acronym for the 4 basic functions of storing and manipulation of data, which is creation of data, retrieving of data, updating the data, as well as deletion of data. In the demo, we'll be using the app generator to create a fully functioning CRUD in mere moments. Next up, we'll be creating a simple approval process, which will look like the one you see on your screen, where the requester sends a request and the approver may then decide for clarification, reject, or approve the request. Now, before we get started with the demo, I'd like to point out that the features that we're going to show you are available in the Professional and Enterprise edition. So here's a small list of features available based on our 3 editions. For this demo, I'll be using the on-premise version where I've downloaded and installed it in my local laptop. If you want to see the full list of deployment options, head over to joget.org and click the Get Started button. All right, let's head over to the demo. Upon first loading up Joget, you'll be greeted to the landing page called the App Center. Here you can see all the published apps. Clicking on it will run the app. It's similar to the app launcher on your smartphone. All right, so let's create our new booking app. I'll have to log in first as admin. The default password is also admin. Right, so click on Design New App, Booking App. Right, click on Save. Right, you'll be directed to the design app. So by default, your app will not be published. This means that it will not be displayed in the App Center and users will not have access to it. So you can develop and test the app with ease. An app in Joget acts as a container that consists of components that serve as a common goal or purpose. Similar to a folder in your computer, anything related to the folder name, you'll be placing it in there. So in Joget app, it consists of 4 components: the forms, the list, the user view, and processors. Properties and exports allows admins to manage the app's general settings, and these 2 new menu items here are the new features which we'll be getting into a bit later. For now, let's start building a form. Right? By clicking on create new form, I'll call this request form, and the table name request. Click on save, and I'll be directed to the form builder. I'll create a simple form, naming this section as request details. I'll drag and drop the elements that I need. Text field for one, for our name. Let's say we need a reason for why booking this room. What else do we need? Okay, we need a room. I'll just hard code the rooms first. Say just 2 rooms. Data, 2 rooms will suffice. And we'll need a date. Let's put it here. Let's call this date needed. And there we have it. So let's have a preview of it. See that we have a date pop-up field and both of my rooms are there. Right, that'll do fine. Click on save. Now we'll be using the app generator to generate the CRUD as well as the approval process, which will have this simple approval process here, and click on generate.
So what happens here is that we are using the only forms that we have designed so far as the base for the CRUD operations, and as well as to use it as the base of the approval process initial form as well. So as you can see, what Adrian has done is to make use of the app generators feature that is available in Joget. So you can think of it as a boilerplate or a templating engine, which is actually extensible. So there are lots of features in Joget which is extensible. So including the app generator feature as well. So adding, editing, deleting records, in other words, CRUD, it is something so common, right, that developers would develop. That is why we have it as a app generator plugin itself. And further into this, we have the approvals app generator as well. Again, this is a common use case. That is why it is available as an app generator, so that we can quickly create prototypes or to minimize development time in getting all these common use cases out to the productions and for the end user to use. So back to you, Adrian.
Right. So as you can see, we have additional forms, lists, and user views based on the app generator. So I'll launch it in runtime. So here we have 2 menu items. One is the CRUD, and the other one is the approval process. So let's begin with the CRUD and see how it works. So we'll create a new data. So let's call it Adrian, webinar, set today's date, and alpha room will do fine, right? So when I click save, the data is retrieved. So as you can see, the columns are not to my liking, so I'll make some quick adjustments. Since I'm the admin, I can go to the admin bar on the lower right. And since quick edit is on, I can click on the highlighted area here, and it will direct me to the data list. Right, so here I'll just remove ID since it's not needed and make some changes here and there. Right. Okay, so I'm going to add a filter. Hold on. Right, let me add a filter as well. Hold on. Right. There you have it. Let's see a preview. Yep, that's what I want. Click on save. Let's close this data list builder and let's refresh. Yep, data that I want. So now we've done the create and retrieve. Let's update, which is editing the information here. I'll add my second name. Click on save. It works, and let's delete the data. There you have it, a fully functioning CRUD. Now we'll be going towards the approval process. The app generator created two items for me, which is the inbox as well as the submit request form. So I'll start running the process by clicking on the submit request form and fill this up. So webinar process. Let's choose beta instead. Click on submit. So when I click on submit, what it does is it goes to this process flow here, and email will be received. Since I did not set my SMTP settings, so there won't be any emails. It will then bypass this and goes to the approval activity here. So if I go back to runtime, looking at inbox, I'll see my approval assignment here. And these are the additional forms that have been created by the app generator. So I have my three options available, similar to what I have here, the clarification, approve, and reject. So I'll just choose approve and click on complete. So there you have it. We just deployed in 5 minutes, a fully functioning app with a CRUD and an approval process. Right, so this is what you can do even in our previous versions as well. So from this point forward, I'll be introducing the new DX features. Okay. Right. In our previous Joget versions, we have the feature to manage the version of the app that you are developing. So if I click on version 1, you can see the versions here. So let me just create another version. So here you can easily switch between them and publish different versions while in production. This helps the developers to continue working or improving the app while maintaining a production copy for users to use. In this example, users can still use the version 1 of the published app while the developers working on the unpublished version 2. Right. In DX, to promote collaborative development, we now have a built-in Git. So all the development we did in Joget will be tracked and committed in the built-in Git. We can use tools like GitHub Desktop to manage the built-in Git. I do have an example, I believe, right here. It's one of my previous examples where I have a purchase requisition app, and I can use this to manage my project work inside my local, right? So next, we can also switch it to remote Git as well. You can point it to a remote Git repo such as Bitbucket, GitHub, and GitLab. Right. Do you want to add anything else for this? Here you go.
So this is like Adrian shared before this, we do have version control already packed in Joget version 6 before the release of this new DX7. So apart from the process versions, internal process versions and applications versions that what we are seeing on the screen right now, as what Adrian shared, we now have an inbuilt Git, right? So we would be able to have a granular controls of every single changes made during the course of the entire developments. And having the ability to also point to a remote Git, this would open up the possibilities of CI/CD integrations, as we can play around with the settings available on the screens here. So it depends on the environment that you are in, right? Be it development, QA testings, and productions. So there are various settings available for us to tweak on this. So this would pave the way for a better or complete CI/CD integrations.
Okay, cool. So moving on. Right, speaking of collaboration, we do have a presence indicator on the top right, which provides awareness if there are other developers working on the same form as you are, as an example here. So that's one of the small features that we have.
This is in part of the to promote greater, closer collaborative developments as per the built-in Git versionings that we have earlier in this new Joget DX 7. The presence indicators would also be a helpful added features, so that one would know, even though we have a version control in place, one would know that there's another team members that's looking into the same page and working on the same entity as well. So this would in turn enhance collaborative developments within the teammate as well.
All right. So another useful tool is the tagging feature. Whenever you have lots of forms, lists, and user views, you can use the tagging feature to better categorize them into more manageable chunks. I do have an example somewhere. Hold on. Expenses claim. Here's an example. So you can say that maybe Justin could work on the requesters while I work on the approvals. So it makes things easier to manage, and maybe you can set to modules. So it's one way of categorizing and managing your forms, lists, and user views. Right. So going next to a new feature. So once you've developed your app and deployed it in your development server, and then to your test server, and then to your production server, there comes a time where you will need to triage an issue where an error occurred, and you need to pinpoint what the issue is. So most developers will need the log files to see what those errors are. So in our previous version, you could download the logs if you're the server admin. So let me go there, clicking on the admin bar. I think it's in monitor, and it's in the Tomcat logs. So here I can click on the log to download it. All right, and then I'll have a look at it and try to figure out what's wrong with it. So this is the previous versions. You have anything to add, or should I go on? Yeah, okay. So I'll be moving to the next agenda, which is the new DX features. So what we did, it could be challenging as you have to go through a few layers to get the log files, especially if it's client's production server. So in DX, we bring the logs to you on the web browser.
So Adrian, I have something to say.
Okay.
Right, so can you go back to the previous screen?
Yep, Tomcat logs.
Right, so this is the features that's available in Joget V6.
Right.
However, I would like to add that it is actually not available if you are in a multi-tenant editions of Joget. So if you are running on a public cloud or a private cloud, regardless of this, when you are in a multi-tenant editions of Joget, these informations are not privy to an end user or a single tenant, because we do not segregate the logs into individuals tenant-based files. So this is a challenges that our app designers of Joget users, Joget customers are facing. So that will lead us to the introductions of these features in Joget DX. So Adrian, back to you.
Right. So here you can see the log for the entire server. You can trail the log in real time, and you can as well download it. If you notice, errors are in red fonts, easy to identify the errors. You can notice there are some errors here. This is intentional, so you can see the difference between the system logs and the app logs. So I'm going back to my booking app and have a look at my app log here. Right, so you can see the differences between the app log and the system log. So one of the cool features is that in the app log, it displays only the relevant logs based on that app. So these logs are all related only to my booking app. So this makes things easier to identify the source of the error through process of elimination. Anything else?
So yeah, just to add on to this, if you are on a multi-tenant environment, not only Joget would be able to give you tenant-specific logs, as what Adrian just shares on the screen right now, Joget would also be able to further segregate tenant-only logs into app-specific logs. So Joget is able to continue to break down another layers so that you would only see the log that matters to you. In this case, when you are developing and going through the developments of the booking app. So we will only shows you what's relevant to you. And I would also take this opportunity to introduce a new features. We call it as the app admin. So Adrian, can you share a little bit on that, or at least show a screen of that?
Sure. So it's called Delegate App Designer role. So this is a new feature in DX, whereby we can segregate certain users or groups to have the admin privileges only for this certain app. I don't know what else.
So, for example, if a single copy of Joget is being used across multi-departments, we would be able to say segregate groups of groups of apps into, say, finance. So there will be a power user in the finance department that would be able to access this app designs console and access the logs and the design as well. So this is a new features that we have added in as well.
Okay. So moving on. So once you have fixed the errors, you need to maintain the app. So at this stage, it's important to monitor the performance of the server. Since version 5, we already have the feature that provides real-time performance data on your app and identify possible bottlenecks, which is called the performance analyzer. So to turn it on, simply go to admin bar, and you'll see all this information on the right, on the top left corner of each user view item. So when enabled, the performance analyzer identifies elements within the user view where the processing time exceeds a specific threshold. For this demo, I've set it to a threshold of 1 millisecond, so that's why you can see some of this. These elements in the menu and as well in the current page will be highlighted on the edit once the edit mode is active, right? So when you mouse over, like I did here, you can see the details of affected method calls, and if any SQL statements will be displayed. There's also the JVM, the Java Virtual Memory Statistics, as well as the database connection pool here. It helps to manage the platform's health and performance. You can use this information to detect any unclosed database connections or leakages of similar kind. Right. So in DX, we have the APM. Right. So APM has both app level and the platform level. So let's take a look at the platform level first. So you can go to the admin bar, monitor, and click on the performance. Right. Here you can see the entirety of the performance of the server. Okay, let me just make it a bit more interesting. Right. So here you can see the heap memory usage, CPU loads, and below it you can see all the apps that I have. And by clicking on it, for example, like JSON form options app here, I can drill down to the page and to the URL as well. So I can get more details such as response times, slow traces, if there is any, errors. So on errors, I can click on it to get a breakdown. So you can get a breakdown, the JVM thread statistics, the trace entries, as well as any errors in the database query that is being used during this error. You can see how long it takes, and profile threading as well. Next, we do have the queries, all the queries that is being used and the time it takes to query for each of the statements here. Any external service calls as well. As you can see one example here, which takes quite a long time. And thread profile as well. Okay, so as Joget is a platform that can host multiple Joget apps at the same time, it gives you a bird's eye view of the state of the whole server. Yeah, and you can also set the performance alert based on, it's an email alert. You can set it on based on metric and based on threshold if it exceeds the threshold, or the opposite where if it's below the certain threshold, you can send an email notification to provide the corrective actions. All right. So this is the platform level. Now let's go back into the app level. And here's the performance as well. So this is more focused. It's more on only on your current app. It's especially useful on the multi-tenant. Hugo, would you like to explain more on the multi-tenant portion of this?
Right. So
This is app level.
so this is app level.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Right. So at the application level, when you are using multi-tenant editions of Joget, or you are sharing the same Joget servers across multiple departments, the performance tab under the applications level, it is useful to the app designer who has access only to these screens, so that one would be able to look at the performance stats of the individual's application that he or she is managing. So that is why the same performance tab is made available at the application level as well. So at the applications level, you will only see the performance stats of the specific application. However, at the server level, the server admin would be able to see the overall pictures and to also set up alerts if you want to. And at the platform levels, we would also, the server admin would be able to tell which of the Joget app that is getting the most hit, or is the one that slowing down the entire systems, and to make the necessary arrangements and future planning as well. So I would like to note that we are the APM feature, application performance monitoring features, is an inbuilt features. There is no need to install any other third parties, libraries or agents into the server itself, and so it is available out of the box. So we believe that this is what many of our existing customers are asking for. So we don't just provide a platforms for application developments. We would also have the features to support them throughout, and even after they have hit the productions.
All right. So actually, that's the end of the demo. Right, so let's do a recap on all the DX features. First one is the Git integration that we talked about earlier. We have the built-in version, as well as you can perform remote Git to any of the external GitHub Git repositories out there, like Bitbucket, GitLab, and etc. And you want to talk about the CI/CD integration portion, Hugo?
Yes, sir. So having a inbuilt Git would and the ability to point to a remote Git opens up possibilities, right? I would say, right? So this will open up the possibilities of different environment being able to talk to each other for the first time in Joget DX, and so this would pave the way to make use of CI/CD tools out there, CI/CD suites out there. For example, as a starter, we can make use of Jenkins in order to and integrate with the Git in order to perform, say, nightly builds or even to push around different environments. So this is the first steps that Joget has taken and to make use of a Git, and there will be more features and tighter integrations in the days to come.
Cool. Next, we have the presence indicator to detect the awareness of other developers on the same form as you are in right now. And we do have taggings, easier to manage your forms, data lists, and user views. And we have the web log viewer, both in the platform level and the app level, where in the app level, it will display all the logs relevant to your app. And we have the built-in APM. We've talked about the performance analyzer, which is available in our previous versions. And the APM itself, both on the platform.
So, yep. So I would like to note that the performance analyzers that's available in previous versions will continue to exist because it plays a vital role in application developments and post-production monitoring as well. This is because we would be able to see detailed stack trace on how much time it took and what are the steps that it gone through in order to generate that specific page. So we would call this as the design time APM monitoring features, because as you design, you would be able to anticipate and see what kind of hits that you will be getting. And with the new additions of the APM features in Joget DX, it would provide us with the runtime performance informations, because we would be able to take a step back and look at the overall totalities of the server's performance, and would be able to and performs additional monitorings. So there's a design times monitorings and also a runtime monitorings. Both are critical in performance monitorings and ensuring a good service levels to the server performance.
Right. Next up, I think, all right, so what's next, you ask? So here's a list of what new features we'll be talking about for each of our upcoming episodes. It's subject to change. Next episode, we'll be talking about the PWA support and our new latest process enhancement plugin. Episode 4, we'll be talking about the smart decision tools. And episode 5, we'll be talking about the new add-on builders, and we'll be showcasing one of them, which is the API builder. So in case you missed our previous episode, we'll provide a link in the chat. Justin, yep, thank you. So you can download it. And this is our online community knowledge-based website. You can search for further information about Joget. You can find best practices and how-to guides, etc. You can also post questions here. Other Joget moderators or experts out there answering questions every day to provide the help that you need. We do have video tutorials as well on joget.org. There are video tutorials on how to build your first app. You can also visit our Joget Academy and sign up for our online learning courses as well. I'll ask Justin to help put in the links as well for your reference. And we've come to the end of the presentation. Back to you, Justin.
Okay, So Mr. Hugo and Mr. Adrian, thank you so much for taking time to conduct this session. And right now we're here for our Q&A session. We are currently 36 minutes in, so we have about 20 minutes to answer a few questions right here. Right. So let's see. We have our first question. Right. So I'm going to ask Mr. Hugo. Right. We have our first question from the audience. He said, do we need to create table manually first before we design the form in, let's say, the booking app demo?
Good questions. So as you can see during the demo that Adrian gone through, so Adrian, why don't you answer this question? Do we need to create a tables before you actually created the forms earlier? So we did not see you do that. Did you actually need to do that to prepare whatever it is?
No, we don't actually need to, because upon creating a new form, all you need to do is define the table name. And then every time you drag and drop new elements, right? So whenever you drag and drop the new elements like text fields, text areas, and you fill up the ID, it'll actually automatically create those columns based on your ID, those field IDs. As you can see here, I'm showing you in the advanced tools table. So I do hope that actually answers your question. Right. Next, do you have any further questions?
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much, Adrian, for answering it. Okay, well, moving on to the second question the audience have. But before we ask the second question, just a note to the audience, you can continue to ask questions right now. There's the button right below in your control panel for Q&A. So anything you ask then, we'll get right to it. Okay, so going back to the second question that we have. Okay, second question. Is the system app logs and APM feature available in Joget Cloud?
Let me try that. Right. The system log and the APM, right? Yes, yes, it is available at the tenant level as well. So as what we have shown earlier, a tenant user would be able to access the logs and the APM performance data available to the tenant users. So basically, yes, yeah.
All right, thank you, Hugo. That's a good answer. Okay, so now we're coming down to our third question. Okay, ooh, this might be a tough one. Okay, third question. Is the app generator pluggable?
Right. Yes, it is actually. It is extensible. So if you do have the knowledge skill set, you can actually build your own template as well. As you can see in the app generator here, let me show you a bit. Right. So all these are actually extensible, so you can actually even create your own. So we do have two examples. One was the approval process just now, and we also have a slightly more complex assignment process as well. And yeah, you can actually create your own as well. It's pluggable, right? Okay. That's about it, I think.
All right, excellent, Mr. Adrian. Okay, we're seeing a few live questions that our audience is posting to us. Okay, so we'll get to the first question that we have. We can answer this live. Okay, we have from an anonymous attendee. This question is, would you please explain again the GitHub process? If not, then I will wait for the video repeat to try to understand. So I'm handing this question to our speakers.
The GitHub process. Right. Okay. So GitHub. Okay. Sure. So again, we can actually set to a remote gate, for example. So remote gate, maybe if I can do an example live. Okay, I'll try. Right, so let's say I have Bitbucket. Let's go look for Bitbucket. Yep, so I believe I do have one example. Hope I remember the password. Right, so I do have an example, I believe, in here. Right. Yeah. So test kit is an example I did. So what you can do is getting this information here and paste it into your Git configuration, enter your username and password, and it will automatically commit, push and pull into your Bitbucket here. So here you can see some examples of my commits. It also auto-resolves some of the conflicts as well. Not sure what else do you need. Hugo, you want to add anything else to this question?
So, so we can see that from here, we are pointing to a remote Git. So in this case, we are using a third-party service here. So this is where we will start pointing from the remote Git configurations of a design app page. And
how about built-in, I guess?
so you can also show the built-in Git that Joget has as well.
So this is an example. So I can add existing repository. I do need to locate it. So in my local, I can go to my local installation, head over to wflow folders and add _source. So here is all the
Yep. So can we try to point to the booking app that you developed earlier?
Right. So here. So right. So I think I did in version 1.
Yeah.
Select folder and add repository. So, and there you have it. All the updates I did.
These are the changes, modifications to the applications that we have made. Okay. All right. So I guess we have answered the question. So over to you, Justin. Any other questions?
All right, thank you for your responses. Wow, more. Okay, so we have our next question. You can see in the chat, Mr. Arthur. Mr. Arthur. Okay. His question is, if one of the steps in the process is to insert some of the form data into your key, how would you accomplish it? He's asking if can be accomplished with the eShell tool.
Right. So let me try that. Yes, it is possible. So I guess the best way to show it is to just let's get back to the browsers, Mr. Adrian. Right. And I would need your help to point to the processes. Can we open up the process mapper? Okay. So the process mapper, in here, we have a distinction between activity and tools, and tools being the one in green. So for example, we have a update record status. Can we go ahead and try to change the plugin? So what we have here is what we call as the process tools plugin, and as the name suggests, it is actually extensibles. So in total, there are over 20 types of categories of plugins. So let's just focus on this. So it is possible to say that we do have customers who integrates with SAP or other ERP systems. So for example, we do have the JSON tools or even as the SOAP tools as well. So if any of these plugins do not fulfill your needs, we can also you can also develop a new plugin or to make use of the bin shell tools up there, where we would be able to type in Java codings and to make the necessary calls and integrations as well. So I hope this is good enough to get you started on the integrations. So do check out our Joget knowledge base. We do have ample resources and on the integrations topic as well. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hugo. So we have another question from Mr. Stephen over here. His question is, if we are using the existing Joget Cloud version 6 pre-DX, what is migration path to Joget DX in the cloud?
In the cloud.
So, good questions. We are not in charge of the cloud, but we will need to check and get back to you. But from historically speaking, what will happen is that there will be a grace period as Joget DX has just hit a GA a week back, right? So there will be a grace period whereby existing Joget V6 cloud users would be given the opportunity to will be given ample time to do the testings, necessary testing before your site is being upgraded to Joget DX. So the cloud team would then send out the communications and provide a timeline on this. Normally, it will take a few months, and if you choose to opt in and to upgrade earlier, I believe you would be able to ping the cloud team, and they would have it expedite for you for the upgrade.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Hugo. We have another question from we are currently having 10 minutes left into our webinar. We have one final question that can put in. So we have a question from one of our members attendees. His question is, can I deploy Joget apps as a standalone, or do I need the server?
Very good questions. Thank you, Justin. So Joget acts as the runtime engine itself. So you would need Joget to be running as the underlying platforms. So all the applications that you develop requires the platform level support. So I hope that answers the questions. Thank you. So you require Joget as the runtime engine to host the Joget app that you develop.
All right, that is an excellent. Okay, we have enough time for about one or two more questions, so the audience can continue to ask the Q&A if they would like to. Right, okay, we just have a question coming in again. Another anonymous attendee, his question is, can I run Joget on mobile?
Adrian, can we run Joget on mobile devices?
Yes, we can. I mean, it's basically, what do you call the word? Yeah, it's a responsive app. So, right. So here's an example. Right. So here.
So let me do the talking, and Adrian, you do the clicking.
Right.
So Joget essentially is a web applications development platforms. So you can run it on mobile. Can we go to a runtime end user screens?
Right. Well, let me get it. Get to there. Okay. So, right. Here you go.
Right. So as an end users, right? When you browse Joget app through a mobile devices or any screen size or tablet screens, what you will get is that the Joget apps, in nature, it is a responsive web applications. It will adapt to any screen size that you have. So the answer is yes. You can run it on a mobile devices. So for Joget DX, it is also available, and it will become a what we call as a PWA application, progressive web applications.
I will be talking about that in the next episode. Actually.
Yeah, so we will be talking about this in the next episode. So stay tuned. So the answer is yes, and there are some more features coming along as well. Okay, thank you.
All right, and that would be the end of our Q&A session. We would like to thank our speakers for taking their time out to conduct this session. Stay tuned for our third episode of Everything Joget DX. And at the end of this session, you will have a feedback form, and we appreciate any feedback that you have for us. And without further ado, thank you everyone, and we will see you next time. Thank you.